Hi, welcome to this lecture on mathematical methods for biologists. We have been discussing statistics and we discussed probability distribution. Today, we will discuss some examples of probability distribution. The aim of mathematics is to quantify things, as we discussed, and when we want to quantify things around us, the experiments that we do, there are many ways one can do, and then very often you have some data or you are planning to do some experiment, you could ask the experiment in the following way, where you could ask a yes or no question. For example, if you are doing a survey, you could of course ask a question which has an answer yes or no. Survey is also an experiment. But even if you do experiments with cells, for example, you add some cells at a particular concentration, then you could ask the following question: is the cell is alive or dead, right? Is it viable? So there's a dead or not dead, alive. So this is yes or no question. There are only two answers, either dead or not dead, right? This is one way of asking a question in an experiment. And the answer is yes or no. Is the cell dead? The answer is yes or no. This is a question that we can ask in an experiment. This could be in many other cases. If you want to study some protein binding, you could ask the question whether the protein is bound or not bound. The answer is yes or no. So there are many examples, many situations where you would want to design your experiment such a way that the answer is yes or no. If you do that, statistics gives us some help. So if we have a situation where the answer, you ask a question and the answer is yes or no, using the ideas from statistics, we can analyze it in a very interesting manner, and that is this lecture. How to do that is what we will discuss in this lecture. So the topic of this lecture is binomial distribution. This is a name of a particular distribution, and the question we will answer is what is the distribution if we ask a yes or no question. So if we ask a yes or no question, the resulting distribution is going to be a binomial distribution, and that is what we would discuss today. To do that, let us think of some situation. So you have a population again. So we have either a population of cells. So you have a population of cells which you would see under microscope. Let us say there are 10 cells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 cells. Or you would go to a sample where you have some number of individuals. So let us say you have a room where you have 10 individuals. So let us say you have 10 individuals, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 10 individuals whom you would ask this question. And this question could be like, for example, if I have a drug and you give this drug and these 10 individuals have a disease, is it cured or not? After taking this much dose of the drug, is the disease cured or not? And the answer will be yes or no. After adding this much drug, is the cell alive or not? Answer is yes or no. By making a particular mutation, is a particular function happening or not? So whenever you ask a yes question for which the answer is yes or no. So ask a yes or no question. You ask a question for which the answer is yes or no. Now out of these 10 people, when you do experiment once, maybe 7 of them, for 7 individuals or 7 cells, the answer is yes. Maybe some other time if you repeat this experiment, maybe 5 cells were alive. So the answer is yes for 5 cells. Is the cells alive? If the question, 5 of them would say 5 of the cells would be alive. So you would get, for example, at the end of it, so how many yes answers we got. So this is, after doing this experiment many times, we would tabulate how many yes answers did we get. This is the how many yes answers did we get. So maybe first time when you did experiment, out of 10, 7 out of 10 we got yes answers. Next time maybe 5, another time 3, you repeated experiment, you got 5, you again repeated experiment 6, 4, 7, 7, 6, 5, 7, 8, 8, 7, 3, and so on and so forth. You could get many values. So let us these values, so this is how many yes answers. So this is number of yes answers. So we have 7 number of yes answers, 5 number of yes answers, 3 number of yes answers. So k number of yes answers, where k is any of this number, k number of yes answers. Now how many yes answers will we get? So the question is, if you take a population and add a particular drug, how many cells will be alive, right? So how likely that you would get exactly 3 cells alive? How likely that you would get exactly 7 cells alive, right? So if you do an yes or no experiments, how likely that you would get exactly k yes answers? This is, if you ask this question, so in a yes or no experiment, in a yes or no experiment, where the question is framed such a way that the answer is yes or no, how likely that we will get exactly, this is the keyword, exactly k yes answers. In a yes or no experiment, how likely that we will get exactly k yes answers. Now this question can be answered mathematically, and this is called a binomial distribution. So the binomial distribution answers this question. So this binomial distribution. So the question is, how likely that we will get exactly k yes answers. So the probability of getting k yes answers, that's what the probability of getting k yes answers, given there are n individuals answering this, or there are n cells. So n is the total number of cells we have. This is given by NCK. NCK is combination n choose k, and I will tell you what this is. Some of you have heard this in school. NCK, n choose k. There is a parameter which is called a b, and I will tell you what b is. B power k 1 minus b power n minus k. B is the bias of the system. And what is B? I will explain what B is. N is total number of individuals or cells, individuals, or total number of answers. So there are total number of answers, or total number of answers. There will be some yes answers and no answers. Yes plus no, total number is n. So if there are total number of answers, how likely that you will get k of them? Yes is given by this, where B is something which is called the bias of the system. Now what is bias? So if things are completely unbiased, there is equal likelihood of getting yes or no answer. For example, if you toss a coin, there is an equal chance of getting head or tail. So there the bias is half. Like if in a unbiased, in a typical situation, if you have offsprings, male or female, there is an equal probability of offspring being male or female. So the probability is half. So the bias is half. So B is the bias. Typically unbiased would mean B is equal to half. So unbiased situation, B is equal to half. Examples are tossing a coin, probability of head, probability of tail, like probability of head is equal to probability of tail. Therefore, this is completely unbiased. Therefore, B is equal to half, which is 0.5. Same offspring, the likelihood of offspring being a male or offspring is like male or a female. This is also biased, this is unbiased. So the probability of either of this is half. So in such situation, the probability would be half. But many a situation, if you don't have a fair coin, if you have an unfair coin, you might get more heads than tail. If you have an asymmetric, if you don't have a nice, if you take some object which is not symmetric, you would fall one side more than the other. In that case, the B is not half, it is biased towards one side. So the system that you would do experiments, you may not know which way it is biased. If the drug that you apply is very efficient, then it will be biased towards curing it. So then the answer will be biased towards. So by doing this, we can also know the bias of the system, how much it is biased this way. So if we know the probability, we can calculate the bias, or if we know the bias, we can calculate the probability of this. So let us think of this question in the context of unbiased thing that we know. Let us say if you have 10 times if you toss a coin, how many times, what likelihood that you, how likely that you will get exactly 3 head. Like if many couples you take, and if you take 10 couples and you ask the question, how likely that, so each of these 10 couples have exactly one offspring, one kid, one baby, and this baby could be a male or a female, and out of this n, how many babies are female, right? What is the probability of getting exactly k female? So these are the questions that let us first answer. So I would write here, you have n tossings of a coin. So here there is n is 10, let us say 10 tossing, or n babies if you take, right, for 2n parents. So there are n couples and there are n babies born today, and you ask the question, how many of them are, so here also let us say n is equal to, let us take 10. How likely, so the question we would answer here is how likely, what is the probability, how likely that there are exactly k female babies, k girls, or k heads in the case of a toy, and this is given by this formula: n choose k, b power k where b is half here, n minus b, 1 minus b power n minus k. This is the formula where nck is n choose k, which can be computed as n factorial divided by k factorial times n minus k factorial. So this is this is nck is a number, and this can be computed like this: n factorial divided by k factorial times n minus k factorial. But it is very important to understand what is the question we are asking. We are asking how likely that there will be exactly this many male or this many head, right? So let us take some simple examples, right? So let us take the case of n is equal to 10. So there are 10 individuals or 10 couples or 10 tossings, and we would ask the question how likely, which is same as what is the probability. What is the probability how likely that we will get one head or one head, or it could be one girl, so exactly one, and 9 is boys, or in the other case 9 is tail, or so this would of course be P 10 1, and the bias is half here, so 10 C1 half power 1 minus half is also half power n minus k is 9 plus 1. This is the answer that we can get. So 10 C1 is 10 factorial divided by 1 factorial divided by 10 minus 1, which is 9 factorial. So we can calculate this approximately, and this number would give us the probability to have exactly one head or one girl. The opposite, we could ask how likely that all the 10 girls born, all the 10 babies born on a particular day are girls, right? Probability that out of 10 births on a particular day, all the 10, there are exactly 10. This of course can be written as 10 C10 half power 10, then half power 0. So this is basically 10 C10 is 1 and half power 10 is this. So this is the answer. So this will be half 0.5 power 10 would be the answer that we know. So this would give us answers to this question that, for example, this gives the probability that all 10 are girls. The probability is 0.5 power 10. You can ask how many of them, what is the probability that one of them is a girl? What is the probability that two of them would be a girl, exactly two of them? What is the probability that there will be exactly 3 girls out of this 10 births happened on a particular day? So there are many such examples where we know things are unbiased. There is no bias. Then the B is half. Very often we wouldn't know what B is, so we would be able to back calculate B if we know the P value. So this is the use of binomial distribution to answer this question. Now, we would want to know what is the mean number. For example, if so we have what we have P of k for a given n and B. So given n and b, we have p of k. Now, what is the mean value of k? So, you do this experiment, let us say you do 10 tossings, many times, and you would ask what is the average number of heads I got? Equivalently, I could go to different hospitals, for example, and look at a group of 10 births, and you ask out of this 10 births in different hospital, what is the average number of girls born on a particular day? So this is basically can be written as k bar, and this is nothing but sum over k p of k. So if I just go to 100, or let us say I go to 30 hospitals, or 30 times I repeat, so this is like, this would go from 1 to 30. So this is, if I want to write ki, I could write here I is equal to 1 to, or if I go to 30 hospitals, this is ki p ki. So this I could write this way. And this would be the mean value, and it turns out that this is n times b. So the number of girls, if the bias is half, this would be exactly n by 2 if b is equal to half. So that we know that if you have 100 coins, or if you have 100, if you have 10 tossings and you go to many places and do 10 tossings, or you take, and then your answer will be n by 2. Like there is a probable average value will be half, 5. And n by 2 is 5, 0 to 10 tossing. The average number of heads will be n by 2, which is 5. So this is, if the bias is half, is n by 2. If the bias we don't know, the mean value will be n times b. So this is something that we have to remember. The mean of a binomial distribution. So the mean or average of a binomial distribution would be k bar would be equal to, as we wrote here, sum over of k, p of k, and this would be n times b. Now you could also ask what is k minus k bar whole square average root of this, right? You could ask what is k minus k bar whole square average root of this, right? So this is going to be nb times 1 minus b, and of course this is going to be root of this. So the mean and standard deviation can be obtained like this. And now, given this, we would also think about plotting this distribution. So let us think of plotting p of k versus k. So I just quickly wanted to plot p of k versus, what does this mean? This means if I do this experiment many times, how many times I got no head at all, or how many times I got no answer, right? Or yes, how many times I got 0 yes answer. So maybe many often you would approach 10 people, you would get no from always. So how many times you got 0? So this is what this is. How many times you got 1 yes answer? How many times you got 2 yes answers? How many times you got 3 yes answers? 4 yes answers? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are different number of yes answers. So this is k is the k number of yes answers. K number of yes answers. And this P of k is frequency. So Fi divided by sum over IFI. That is what is P of k is. So the frequency, how many times I got divided by sum over IFI. Normalized frequency, there is a probability as we said. So this kind of plot we can plot, and you would get a plot like this. How many times we got KS answers from a population if you repeat this many times. So that gives us P of k, and the plot of P of k would depend would depend on how biased it is. If it is, so you could think of different ways. You could think of a P of k like this, or you could think of a P of k like this, or you could think of a P of k like this. So depending on the bias, if B is very small, if B is much smaller than 1, is B smaller than half, you would think of this way. If B is larger than half, you would think of some answer, and if B is close to half, you would get a distribution like this. So P of k versus k, this is P of k versus k, P of k versus k. If I plot it, I would get different, one can get different kind of distributions depending on the value of B that we have. So to summarize, we studied binomial distribution, and this distribution helps us and tells us how many yes answers you would get if you ask a question which has a yes or no answers. Or the same thing could be applied to no answer, then the B would be the bias for the no answer. So you could equivalently ask how many no answers you would get. It's just that the B, the meaning of B would be the bias towards no. The B is the bias towards yes if k is number of yes answers. B is the bias towards no if k is the number of no answers. So the binomial distribution answers the question, what is the probability of getting exactly k yes answers if there are total n answers? And the formula is given known to us, and this will help us in designing experiments as a yes or no question and quantifying and understanding it appropriately. So I urge you to design your experiment as yes or no question as much if possible, and think about this and apply this idea and use it for your quantifying your data. With this, I will stop this lecture and continue in the next class.